Good evening and welcome to the third edition of season 2 of the Do Something Indie show. And I'm telling you what, if I got a guest tonight, I'm looking so forward to this. I don't want to sound too starstruck or hear anything, and I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on this. Just a little housekeeping this evening. The Do Something Indie show is going to have the live chat on tonight. So if you have questions for Andrea, go ahead and talk to him. But she has sent me a lot of great information here, and I'll be putting that on the banner below as we interview her. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on here because I know you don't want to see my ugly face. She's beautiful. She's got a sexy voice, and here she is, Andrea.
Hi there, John. Hi, everybody. It's so good to be with you. And let me just say, I am honored to be on your show. I love the name, #DoSomething, because I believe that all of us have something to do in our community to make it better and to make our world a better place to live in.
And I love that. So yeah, look, my wife's already on here. See, so this is how we do. We put up
I like
the
it. That's my husband.
He
He does the same thing for me, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is already people really want to hear what you have to do. So I want to start out with a little bit of your background. I mean, I've been in Indy for a long time, and I know you've been. I mean, I turn on the TV and I see you. I said, man, she could make taking the garbage out sound sexy. So
you are so nice, so nice. A lot of people say that, and I count it a blessing because I can remember being at my grandmother's house in Louisiana when I was a little kid, and we had the old cassette tape, and my cousins and I were playing around, and they put the tape in, and we were just, pushing play and record, and they played it back, and they all began to make fun of me because they're like, "You sound like a guy, you sound like a boy, you sound like a dude," and I remember being so upset, and I went to my grandmother and I cried a little bit, and she says, "Honey, don't you worry about it. That's going to come in handy soon." Needless to say, here I am, 35 plus years in the business, but never knew that is what my career path was going to be. So I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
So you say you're from Louisiana, huh?
I'm from Louisiana.
Louisiana, yeah. Well, you
Deep
sure
South.
hide the accent pretty good. So,
well, I can say my family is from Louisiana, but we've been here in Indiana since, oh gosh, I was in high school. So this is our home. My mom and dad have been here forever, and my father is a professor, retired professor from Anderson University. So when we moved here, I was a sophomore in high school. So this is home. This is home for me.
What school did you go to?
I went to Highland High School. Go Scots.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Is that even still around, that school?
No, unfortunately, there's only one high school left in Anderson. Population has declined over the years. So there's one high school. It's now Anderson, which used to be the old Madison High School. Madison Heights. Yeah. But that's all. Yeah. It's okay.
That's great. And then, so how did, I mean, your voice and your face and all that, how did you how'd you get into the broadcasting?
Well, you know what? I would say, people think that, when you're in broadcasting, that's all you do, and that's the only way to kind of get into the business. And I tell kids when I speak to them, broadcasting is really about writing and telling a good story. And the broadcast part for me kind of came second. So I started working in newspaper first. I worked for a media company outside of New York City for a while, right after I graduated from Howard undergrad. And that was always my jam, was writing stories. And one day I was working for this cable company outside of Philadelphia, and their host was not available that day. That person got sick, and I was an intern. And so I tell kids all the time, always be ready because you never know, that day will come. And that was my day. I got there and they were like, "Can you fill in?" And I said, "Sure." And I was just right out of college. And as they say, the rest is history. So that began my love for broadcasting. And so I've been doing it since, oh gosh, 1991.
Wow, that's great. So you may know my cousin, Laura Steele.
Oh, of course I do. Yes.
Yeah. And I had a similar experience with her back in the day. She had a cassette in her car and she says, "I think I'm going to do this DJ stuff." Yeah. And now look at her. She's about the same, time in there. And so I think, did you know early that you wanted to be in front of the camera? Did you, or did you get a little prodding there?
Well, yeah, I didn't know if I wanted to be in front of the camera necessarily, but I always knew that I wanted to be involved in journalism. And so I did some camera work when I was in undergrad and did a little dabble in that. But it just kind of came naturally. I wasn't pushing for it, wasn't gunning for it. I just kind of fell into it, but I knew I wanted to be involved in journalism, whether it was writing for a newspaper or for television. And so I just kind of fell in love with TV, and I thought, wow, I get to tell stories and I get to be on television, and the two combined. And here I am all these years later. But it's a phenomenal, phenomenal journey. I can tell you that I truly believe that journalism, whether it's television or writing for newspapers or magazine, this is a ministry. I've always considered it to be a ministry. I've always considered it to be a public service, that we're here not to just give information, but to impart inspiration and to impart a sense of community for each other. And so that's what I love my stories to do, is for people to walk away and go, I learned something, or I've been inspired, and now I think I can do it because of that person. So journalism has always been about a public service and encouraging people to be the best that they can be in life.
Well, and that's what doing these interviews. I mean, I'm fortunate to get to meet and talk with you, and I've just met so many interesting people, and I know that's a big thing. I got a question for you. I don't know if you've seen the Twitter or the Carrie Lake, Fox 10. Have you seen that video where
I have not.
Arizona? She talks about, she's been in the business about as long as you have, and she talks about, I can't do journalism anymore. When I got in the business, it's not the same. I said, they make me read stuff that I know is not true, and blah, blah, blah. You know, you need to look it up. It's sort of circulating right now. So I'm going to ask you the same question.
Sure.
What do you think about journalism? And I mean, and I know you have had a career of positive, uplifting thing. That's what I love about you. But as far as the atmosphere and the environment, give me your take on that from when you started to present day.
Yeah, I haven't read what Carrie wrote, but just based on the headline that you mentioned, it has definitely changed. However, I'm still old school. I was taught, even in high school, when I was working at our school yearbook and for our school newspaper, that journalism is always about the truth. Journalism is always about the facts. You give facts and you let people then decide, not necessarily what they want to believe, but you let them form their own opinion. But at the core of it, it's all about ethical journalism, and it's ethical journalism equals facts and truth and integrity. I do believe that there's been a blurring of the lines over the last, 8, 10, 12 years, because television has become more entertainment. News has become more entertainment. And correspondents are now allowed to, some of them, depending on the network that you watch, ingest their own personal opinions. And I believe that has been the erosion of journalism, and why there's so many people in our world who don't believe journalism. But at the core of it, that is the core of journalism, is to tell the truth and facts. And so, yes, there has been a change. I won't specifically speak about certain stations or certain cities, but there has been an erosion, if you will, of maybe kind of going away from the core of what journalism is supposed to be all about. For me, that's it. That's the core of it. That is speaking the truth and trying to ingest inspiration and hope for people and kindness. And if that's not what I can do anymore, I'm with Carrie. There's no room for me. If journalism changes, then that's not what I want to do. I can find another venue and another vehicle to tell great stories, which is what I do and will say that I love about technology. And now, television news, we're competing against Do Something, against you and other people who can just use their who could use their phones, but speak a message and to connect with each other and to have a community. And so television news is having a difficult time, or TV in general is having a difficult time, because now you've got streaming services and you have people on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and Facebook now has its own news organization. So people are learning information, getting their information from so many different sources. And so at the core of it, though, when truth is eroded, that is not journalism. That's just conversation.
Yeah. And it's almost like we work together. That's a perfect segue into the next thing I want to talk about. I mean, obviously, if a 60-year-old dude can, get this technology going and stream live and all that, which it's only taken me a year and a half to get to this point.
Same for me. I'm 52.
Yeah. My first live, when we were going to do this, because it's like that. The media would not cover us. I mean, they would not cover me. I was in politics and I wasn't, it was like famous philosopher George Carlin says, it's a club and you ain't in it.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what, we're going to make our own media. So our first 3 shows never made it to the air.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna stream live. We're gonna be this.
Yeah.
We're gonna be NBC. Watch out! And it was like, wow, this is sort of hard. So I'm gonna go ahead and change the clicker down here to You sort of got your own media place. I'm gonna put that down here. The Cloverland Media. Talk about that, because let's get that out there a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. My husband actually started the company years ago, and he graduated from University, communications degree as well, and his MBA from Purdue. And he's always known my desire to tell great positive stories that will connect the human spirit, and about the human spirit, and about kindness and love and universal themes that connect us as people together. And so he started this company years ago, and we've done a couple of documentaries. We've been commissioned to do Indiana Trailblazers, which was about the civil rights movement across the state of Indiana from the late 60s to the early 70s. We also did another documentary that was sponsored by Ancestry.com called It's a Family Reunion, What's Your Story? And that gathers women, families across the nation to dig more into their ancestry. And at the actual family reunion, Ancestry.com shows up and says, here's some more information about your genealogy and your tree. And guess what? Here's your cousin. So we created that about 5 or 6 years ago, and that did really, really well. It aired on WFYI and some other PBS stations around the nation. And so that's what Cloverland Media is all about. Some people say, well, where did you come up with the name? And Cloverland Media is the street that I lived on when I was in 4th grade. And my 4th grade teacher was Mrs. Cotton, and she lived right next door. And we were in class one day, and she asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. We were kind of going all around the room. And I said, I want to be that lady in the TV, but I didn't quite know at 4th grade what that was. And she says, you want to be a journalist? And I said, oh, that's what I want to be. I want to be a writer and a journalist. So I remember early on that this was the career I wanted to be in. I didn't know if it would be television necessarily or what form of journalism, but that's the name. That's where the name came from, because that was the first memory that I have of knowing that this is what I wanted to do, that this was a passion, that this was the purpose that I had for my life. And my mom and dad continued to help me move in that direction. And here I am 35 years later.
Okay, I'm going to throw a question out there from one of our audience, and this is from Adam Harvey, and he says, what would you say to any young person who decides that they want to get into the media scene? Is there still a value to formal communication training?
You know what? There's always value to a formal communications training. Communication is connection. Communication is conversation. Communication is the sharing of ideas and opinions. And I say absolutely. If your desire is to attend college, I would say definitely major in communications. It can take you in so many different areas of the world. It's not just journalism, but you can be a communications director for a major corporation. You can be a communications manager for, like, say, the airport or any organization. Communications is what I call the core, the hub of any aspect of work, of any corporation, of any business. So yeah, there's always value. Never underestimate the value of a communications degree.
I agree, and it's pretty much, you get out what you put in, right? And that's
absolutely.
Sometimes that. So let's shift gears to some of these health issues that you've experienced over the years, and give me how that went from when you found out what was going on, how that was, because I know a lot of people experience what you do, and you've been a trailblazer. You see what I did there, trailblazer in this. In this, it's like, I'm just
nice
that corner of my life. And so a lot of people want to know, they need to realize that, famous people get sick too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I think you've done an excellent job with being, not so private and being public. And I got a picture of your cake that, that you had here. Let's see if I can get that up. It's going to blot us out for a second, but
that's okay.
Yes.
This was from my mom and dad. The last day I had chemo. I remember that fondly. That was back in August of 2018. And I was diagnosed on April 18th of 2018. And I remember the moment that I was told. I remember how I was sitting on the sofa. My husband was on the left-hand side of me, and the phone call came, and the nurse says, I want to let you talk to the doctor. We have some information for you. And I could instinctively feel that I was going to get that phrase, "We're sorry to tell you, you have cancer." I'll never, ever forget it. And I didn't even have time to necessarily feel sorry for myself, but I was definitely, obviously shocked. But in that moment, I just went straight to, and women, you can attest to this. Okay, what do I need to do to get my life in order, get my affairs in order? What do I need to do for my husband and my son? I just began thinking about, what do I do to prepare them for life after me? Because the first thought is, I'm going to die. At that point, I didn't know what stage I was. I didn't know what kind of cancer. I didn't know if it was hereditary or some, BRCA DNA. I knew nothing except for I had cancer. And the next morning, we started the treatment plan, and I got all of the answers then. So it was a grueling 2018 for me. And then 2019 was another grueling year. I began immunotherapy treatments, and I just ended that February 26th of 2020. So I'm still kind of a newbie out of the gate. So far, still so good. I'm still in remission. I had one of the most aggressive forms of breast cancer, which is triple negative. And about 40% of African American women in the city of Indianapolis die from this disease. And it was serious. I had 20 weeks of chemo, and within 3 weeks of that tumor being undetected, it came back and it was larger than the original tumor. So that just kind of speaks to the gravity and the seriousness of the type of cancer that I had. But I had great doctors. Community Health Network were amazing. Dr. Badia, Dr. Nate. I was in such great hands. And then, of course, my faith and my family and the support of the Indianapolis community and beyond really carried me through. There were some very dark nights, but the nights of positivity certainly outweighed the negative ones because of the support from everyone around me. And my faith was unwavering. And, when you get a diagnosis like that, I'm sure anyone who has had a serious health problem say, God, if you just get me through, I promise. And I made promises. I said, Lord, if you heal me, if you get me through this, I promise I will continue, because I've always been a person of faith, but I will continue to speak to people and use my life to benefit them, use my life to help them, use my life to encourage and inspire them, use my life for kindness and good, and to use my life as a springboard, if you will, to encourage women to make their health a priority, to make sure that they have early detection, that early detection does save lives, and they get their mammograms. And I cannot tell you how many people at community and other hospitals around the city during that time of my diagnosis, and when I finally made the announcement to the community in May, who said, our phones have been blowing up and we can't keep up with the pace, because everyone is saying they heard about me and they wanted to get tested. And I said, Lord, thank you. And I've had a number of people who've emailed me and said, because of you, I got tested, I was scared. But because of you, I got tested and I found out something. Or because of you, I got tested and I'm great. So that's what it's all about. I've always said that my life is supposed to be of service to other people. And so if anything good can come from that, if my story can save other people's lives, then it was worth it. It was worth going through it. And I will always be indebted to my doctors, always be indebted to the community, and always be indebted to, my family, the people who have supported me from the beginning all the way to the end and who continue to support me. So it was an arduous trial, but a challenge, and a fight that I won. I don't just call myself a survivor. The kind of cancer that I have, I'm always, going back every 6 months to make sure that I'm okay. But I really consider myself to be a thriver. I am thriving with this diagnosis. I am thriving with everything that goes on in my life. And regardless of what happens, I've always been a positive person. And I just believe that everything works together for them who serve and love the Lord. And that is my life. That's how I live. That's how I roll, as the young kids say. And that's all I know. That's all I know. So I always try to stay as positive as I can and try to use my life to inspire other people.
Well, and you've been a great model for that. And,
Thank
as a
you.
believer, we all want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. And,
Amen. Amen.
and you know, a lot of times people get a little fame under their belt, and you know, hopefully when Do Something Indy's so big, I'll be, you know,
Yeah.
just as humble as I am now. That sometimes you know, it's like that old Psalms 23 makes me lay down in green pastures. You
Green
know, sometimes you
pastures.
got to take a knee and
Absolutely.
go with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
learned so much about myself after that experience. And I think for me, it was that time waits for no one, that life is so short. And the word says you don't know the day nor the time when your time is up here on this earth. So, how do I want to spend my time? How do I want to make the best and the most of my time? And so I see life through a different lens now. It's always been one of positivity, but even more so now, it's so much more sweeter. I see clearer, I hear clearer, and I am just consumed by gratitude and service. And that is what gets me and keeps me going every single day.
and that's great. Oh, so another good segue here. And we
Yeah.
got a question from the audience and I'm ready to go on to the next thing because you sent me so many. You should be 101 years old. All these things you sent me, woman. You are spectacular. That's
You know what's so
unbelievable. Like,
funny?
I don't
I
know what
looked
to
at all
pick
that
out.
stuff and I'm like, who's this person? Like I forget that I have been in business for so long and I have done so much. So yeah, I kind of felt bad. I thought John's gonna say, why are you sending me all this stuff?
No, I'm glad you did because then I knew that you were. I know you're a pro for one. And
Yeah.
before we go on, you look like you're in great shape. And my wife was saying something about Cindy Nome's arms and Michelle Obama's arms, and so she's on the thing here. So if she puts a comment
Thank you.
about how your arm, you know, oh, she's got some good arms. So you know,
It's a lot of
she's
this
she's a little
in
more
the swimming
starstruck
pool.
than me, I think. But here's a
Well, I'm
question
not a
from.
star. I'm not a star.
Uh, You're a star. Come on.
No,
So
well, thank
here's
you.
one for Penny Bigelow. She wants to know,
Hey,
you know, you
Penny.
talked about what's up. And so what's up next? And Penny,
Yeah.
she's a loyal fan of Do Something Indie.
Oh, hey there, Penny. And thanks for watching and thanks for your question. You know, there are a lot of things that I would love to do. I've always had big dreams. I've always known that journalism is going to be, it's always part of my life. You know, you never stop for me watching the news. My husband's like, aren't you just done watching the news? And I'm like, no, like that is my life. I've been like that ever since I was a kid. So that's always in me. As for what the future holds, I am open. I've always been the person who says, you know, God, lead my steps, open the doors that you want for me. I don't want to knock. I just want you to have them already open so I can just walk through them. And I just believe to be that I should be in a space of just being open to what God brings to me and enjoying every single moment. Now, there are things that I would love to do. I'm writing a children's book right now. I am being a first time children's book author. So I'm working on that and I'm working with an illustrator in Oklahoma City, a beautiful young woman named Stephanie Heitler. And so I'm looking at caricatures and pictures and I'm like, okay, this looks good, or yeah, let's go with it. It's just been such a fun process. And so that just started maybe about a week ago. So yeah, we'll see we'll see.
You're just like,
Maybe some voiceover work, and you might see me in a movie. I've always wanted to do that. So just the time for me to have fun and just see what happens and just be open to the process.
I could see you in like an action film, you know,
Oh yes.
doing something that like wait, now you're married. You can't be the Black Cougar
Oh,
because they had the
no, I
Black
don't think I should be
Panther.
the Black
Yeah.
Cougar. No.
I think your husband might say, well, hold up on that one, you know, but it is Hollywood, so
But it would
they
be
could do
fun.
that.
It would be fun.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, you know, I put your Facebook and Twitter down here. I'm sure that you'll get like 8 more followers from this show. I'm just kidding. We do have quite a decent audience
Oh, that's
on
wonderful.
this. But, you know, it's the next thing I want to talk about
Yeah.
is this project. Let me get to it. That this one right here. It is the. Let me
Hmm.
get rid of the banner. Unfortunately I'm the engineer and
Oh no, I
the
hear you. We do it all.
everything. So yeah, I don't have channel 13's people. I just have me and my
And
little
you're
mouse
good
here.
enough. You're good enough.
So let's see. Let's get to that. Oh yeah,
Is this
on the
the
bottom
picture?
of it, it's coming across. Board member of the Red Alliance. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't put all this stuff up, Andrea. I can't
I
do it.
know
It's
it's so much.
too
I'm
much
sorry.
to do.
I'm sorry. Well, yeah, the Red Alliance is a local organization that helps to raise awareness and to reach disparities in African American women in the Indianapolis community. As I mentioned earlier, I'm very involved, obviously, with anything that's cancer related. That has become kind of like my new jam, if you will. I just want to save as many women and men as possible. So, of all the organizations, I work with Komen. I still do their pink parade. Obviously this year was a little different because of COVID, but I've always been a supporter of theirs, and so I do anything that I can to continue to push forward the notion that women, we have to be more aware of our bodies, and to make sure that we go to the doctors and that we get regular checkups. But the Red Alliance is I sit on the board, and we help to raise awareness for African American women because we are unfortunately 40% more likely to die from breast cancer. And so I thought, you know what, as we continue to embark upon, unifying our country and trying to understand the disparities in healthcare, and sometimes it's about access. A lot of women who are Black and brown don't have access, or they don't, some of them don't have medical insurance, or they just need a little extra help to get to and from chemotherapy. So I'm kind of an equal opportunity helper. I help everybody, but they asked me to serve on the board, and I said sure, I will certainly serve on the board. And so I've been with them now for almost 2 years, and it's been a wonderful experience to serve. And I love the fact that our board is comprised of a cross section of disciplines, a cross section of professionals, a cross section of local community activists, a cross section of ethnicities and races and culture. And that's what I wanted to be a part of, is to be part of organizations that are really inclusive and diverse. And so they do a phenomenal job of raising awareness. And so it's a great organization. And whatever they want for me to do, I'm like, I got you. In fact, I helped produce their very first virtual fundraiser last November, and that was a fun experience for me as well. So, yeah, that's one of the many
Yeah,
boards that I sit on, and I work feverishly and tirelessly for.
yeah, and love it. I can tell you got the passion for it. And I just want to extend all of my do something Indy to help you
Yeah.
do with whatever. And this would be a good time to plug I got a show coming out tomorrow that's called Race to the Top. It's with former
Mm.
chaplain Ken Johnson of the Colts. I don't know if you
Yes,
Ken.
I
We're
know
gonna
Ken. I did a
well
story on Ken and his wife years ago. Wonderful
Adela,
man.
yeah.
And
Well, that
Della,
we
Mama
have that in
D.
common. Me and my wife and Ken and his wife sat down and did a do something Indy. So you're part of the
Oh,
family now. So you
we're
need something,
family.
you call me. You call me.
Absolutely. You
And
got it, Josh.
we're doing our first breakout tomorrow night at
Uh,
Ken wanted to do like a different time, 7:42 tomorrow
oh,
night. It's Race
742.
to the Top. And
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna go deep. It's gonna be, somewhat geared towards men being
Yeah.
men. And
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna talk about race relations
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that type of thing. So I just want to throw in a little shameless plug
I
for
love it.
that. And
Absolutely. I'll be
so
watching.
on the bottom here, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about Marvin Jones.
Yes.
So I'm going to pull up a picture here real quick, and you
Okay.
can talk over this.
Yeah.
This is Marvin Jones, and I don't know. So I'm
You
learning
don't know?
something
Well,
here. So
I talk about writing a children's book. And so this is the handsome, beautiful, most magnificent actor, Marvin Jones. He is one of the lead actors. I say the best actor on the CW TV show called Black Lightning. They're in their fourth and final season this year. And he is phenomenal actor. And it's amazing. When I say God orders your steps, he really does. And here's kind of the backstory. My father is an albino. And a lot of people, you might hear people talk about an albino snake or things of that nature. And it's kind of done in kind of a funny or jokey way. And for me growing up, I've always been very protective of my dad. And when I was growing up, a lot of people would think that he was Caucasian because he's very fair skinned. And in fact, I thought he was as well, until my mom explained to me that no, your father just doesn't have melanin in his skin. And so I wanted to write a book. My father has this wonderful story of his life and how he had to overcome obstacles in his life. And I just said, Dad, your story is so amazing of how you overcame and how you became a professor and how you were such a great speech professor. And I meet people all the time across the city who say, I had your dad for speech at AU. He was the best. He really helped break me out of my shell. And I just get so I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about it, because it just speaks to the power of perseverance, no matter what your age, disability, creed, color, whatever it is, to never let that obstacle stand in your way. That if you believe in yourself, you can achieve whatever you want in life. And so that's the book that I'm writing. It's called The Brightest Star. And the backdrop is my dad went to Grambling University undergrad, where he and my mother, they were both in theater class. And my father was an actor, and he was really into Shakespeare. He has this great booming voice. A lot of people say he sounds like James Earl Jones. He's just so great. And he and my mom got married right after college, and he was to go to New York University. He got a full ride scholarship to NYU in New York, and he was going to go to study theater, and he wanted to be a Broadway actor. Well, honeymoon came, and they found out that they were with child, and that would be me. And my dad said, I can't go to New York. And my mom says, you can do it. You can do it. Go. And my father says, no, I need to be home with you. And so my father didn't go. He ended up going to Oklahoma State University. And he stayed home to take care of his family. But he's always had this desire to be an actor. And over the years, I've just seen a kind of a groundswell of America talking more about albinism. And I said, Dad, you really should tell your story. And sometimes it's difficult for people to understand what it is, or they haven't seen someone who has albinism, or if they do, they're not quite sure if what race they are. And so I said, let's dispel the myth and let's talk about it. It's okay to talk about it, because the more we talk, the more we know, the more we can help people understand. And so he said, sure. And so I was on the beach one day and I said, so Dad, what about this? And I know you're writing your life story. What if I write a children's book? And he says, okay, yeah. I said, well, I want you to write it. He goes, no, honey, you can do it. So that's my first book. It's called The Brightest Star. And I knew about Marvin Jones, and I just kind of got on the internet and I found out who his agents were. And this is when I say God is in and orders my steps. Now, in this day and age, you don't know me from Adam. You don't know me, but I'm just a nobody in Indianapolis. And I send a text and I kind of, go through all the process and Google search, and I connected to his agents, who said, yeah, I gave them the backstory. And they were like, let me talk to Marvin and we'll see. They immediately wrote me back the next day and said, Marvin would be honored to serve and be part of your book. So there you go. So it's just this great, story, because my dad sees himself in Marvin. My father says, I couldn't do it. He's 70, mid-70s, almost 80 years old. He's like, I couldn't do it. But I now see the success of other people who are albinos. And it just melts his heart. So that's what I'm working on. So hopefully that will be out by the middle of this year.
That is awesome. And once again, great segue, because we have Adam Harvey, who is albino on this telecast. And here's his question. And actually his wife is, and I didn't know that you could be albino and not like be really white. Now, Adam, he's the real deal. He's actually has eyesight that's been affected.
My father too. Yeah.
A brilliant guy. I mean, just brilliant. I love that. He's about 26 years old, passed the bar on his first try, works for the AG, and just a great guy. He's got a question here for you.
Sure.
Do you have any tips on how to build genuine community with people from different backgrounds? Because, that seems to be our topic these days. And then we got Micah Beckworth to say, Adam, I agree, agreed. So,
love it.
So what do you think?
Here's my tip. Here's my tip. I've always believed that breaking bread, that is such a sacred moment when you break bread with someone. And over food, you can get to really know someone and connect to them. And I just think if we did more just breaking bread with each other and understanding that, yes, my skin color is different. I might come from a different area of the world, but there's value in all of us. All of us are worthy. All of us are valuable. And if we just take time to sit, break bread, have a cup of coffee, and just connect on a human level, there's how we bring community together. I don't want to say I don't want you to see me for my color or for my race or my ethnicity, because they're things that are part of my culture that should be celebrated. And I want to celebrate yours as well. And I just think if we if we're intentional about opening ourselves up to other people who don't look like me, who are from different professions or walks of life, that makes the world better. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same in life: love, happiness, joy, children, family, friendships. And there's more of us that, that's similar than things that separate us. And I think if we concentrate on that, that's what community is all about. That's what kindness is, that it's something that comes from the heart, and that's inside of you. And I think my life with my dad and growing up, I think that really helped me to really understand what that means, and what that means to cherish people who are different, what that means to accept people who are different, what that means to open your heart and your life to someone who is different. Because at the end of the day, our differences are really more similarities, if you will.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I've noticed without campaigning, I campaign everywhere. I'm Hallville, 42nd, I go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the things I noticed is with people, I can speak for white people and you can speak for black people, but if we speak for each other, that's when we get in trouble. I think a lot of people, especially my age, are afraid they're going to say the wrong thing, especially in this culture we have. I mean, is that, I think showing mercy to each other and grace is huge. I think it's
absolutely
huge. And well, we got to get out of our little comfort zone. I mean, what's that saying Martin Luther King had? Our most segregated time in the
church.
country is church, 11 a.m. on, or 12 if you go to apostolic. So,
and they're
12
until 3.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Go on now. That's funny right there.
Apostolic friends. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
you got some
that's really
fans
it.
on here. Here we go.
I think it's also too about being intentional about, just opening yourself up to different people. That's it. You have to be intentional about it. No one can make you, but if you have that desire and that heart, and you say, you know what, I don't have a lot of African American people in my life, or I don't have a lot of Caucasian people in my life, or the only people who I see, who look like me or in this environment, or I only see this person when I go to work. And I think if we open ourselves up to include people outside of our workplace, there you go. That's a start. It's breaking bread. It's getting to know each other and allowing people to express their, not just opinions, but their lives, to express what they've gone through, and for people to understand and be empathetic. Maybe you can't walk in that person's shoes, but you can at least say, you know what? I hear you, and empathize with them and feel their sense of, just extend grace and extend an ear and just listen to each other. There you go. I mean, that's what peace and love and harmony is all about.
Yeah, I love your spirit. It's great. I mean, I've looked forward to this interview, and it's actually outdoing my expectations. So, and you got some fans here watching and all that. And I think we're pretty much covering this. What you're doing next. Well, you're already doing it. It's getting it out there.
And I have a podcast just like you. This called
Drop that in the link. And my wife Lisa usually does. She's down in the basement of the house. She's like, and I'll probably misspell something, and she gets so mad when I tell her I'm like mildly dyslexic. So, and I do that dyslexic thing, like the third letter over there is mixed,
Right.
So it's just, and I got the old eyes, I got the,
I'm leaning in going, I think I saw a note there.
I think I saw a question. We're a pair there. But that's good.
My podcast, and it's actually just like yours on StreamYard every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And it's called The Teacher's Lounge. You can find it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, the major social media platforms. But every night we're live and we talk about the breaking news headlines of the day. But at the end of the day, it's really about having great conversation with experts, with people in the community about everything and anything. There's no subject that's off limit. And so we call it The Teacher's Lounge because I grew up with teachers, my mom and dad, my mom, being a teacher in high school, my dad being, a college professor. And so I've grown up around teachers all of my life. And so we call it the Teacher's Lounge because I remember my mom in high school at Highland, she would go into the lounge with all of these other teachers. And I kept going, I want to go to that room. What are they talking about? It just always seemed, I always was fascinated by that. And so we say the Teacher's Lounge is a place where we're going to just talk about everything and anything. It's a safe place for us to just let our hair down and to have fun and to not be so serious, but to also do stories that are inspiring and encouraging and loving and to help one another. it's like what you're doing. We're going to do something about it. Instead of just talking about being a better community, you have to be intentional. So we're going to do something, and we're going to create, this environment where it's a safe place for everybody to talk and connect. That's what life is about.
Yeah, my memory of the teachers' lounge was they all went in and smoked.
Back in the
I'll
day,
tell you,
yeah.
I remember that. It's like, if I had me in class with ADHD, I'd be smoking too, and not regular cigarettes. I'll tell you, I was a tough one. People tell me now, I wish I had your energy. I said, oh, it was costly. So some a lot of teachers and counselors. I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
This has just been truly an honor,
and
I appreciate you coming on.
You're so
and like
welcome.
I said, if you need any help with Do Something Indy, if you want to do that, I'm going to direct some people over to your teacher's lounge. Yes. I would love to check that out.
We're going to have you on our show. We're going to have you on my show. So I'll be inviting you.
I'm nervous already. That's what it's about. That's what we're trying to do. I have some other media shows that we've started together, and we got to, a lot of people are getting away from they're watching the Netflix when they can. A lot of people are going to watch this after the fact. We have a pretty decent audience because I got a big name on here, and but there'll be a lot of people that will watch it at their own time. So that's important, and I think things are changing. And I love that you got your ear to the ground and you're getting involved. Children's books, you're doing it. You're doing it.
I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
I like how you mix that in the Do Something thing. I like that. That's really good.
35 years of journalism.
Oh yeah, you're a pro. So,
but it's true though. It is. It's really about all of us doing something. And I love that. I love the name of the show. I love what you're doing in our community. And that's what it takes. It takes all of us being part of something and doing it, and not just talking, but being actively, intentionally doing it. So there you go.
That's exactly how I came. It's actually from Matthew West's song. We actually have, we can use the song. I mean, I sent him the email sort of like you did. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Okay,
They answered me.
So, well, as long as I don't put it on there like do something like drugs or something, you gotta
do something good.
A lot of things they don't own the rights anymore, but Matthew West still owns stuff. So that was good that we were able to get that permission to do that. And then my wife did the trademark thing. We're trademark.
I see that, TM.
You got to try to be professional. My wife keeps me online.
Looks good. Good job.
But I totally appreciate this. It's a great interview.
My honor.
I will, let's be in touch.
Yes. Hey, we're family. We're family now, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, all right. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming in.
My honor. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. And again, all the information of how to get in touch with me, I'm always available. Twitter, Facebook, you know where I am.
Very good. Very good. Thanks, Andrea.